things are happening, you don't know why.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. It's probably not going to get posted till the afternoon. This is Shanth Enjeti Art. Sorry, it's been a while. I've been busy working on my comic book that's going to launch on Indiegogo, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So I'm sitting here listening to the affirmations cover of Goonies Are Good Enough because I love that movie. And I am working on an idea that I'm trying to solve, and I don't want to solve it on the final. So I just thought I'd let you in and show you a little bit of my creative process as I work on this book, because I want you to back it. I want you to be excited about it. And I am very, very proud of it. It marks a major sort of turning point in my work. And I cannot overstate the importance of it and what it sort of means for me to come back and do comic book work and work on this stuff. I've always done comic book work. I've done, some professional jobs, but I've not really ever, I've not done it in a long time. And it sort of, it was a major turning point that led me to sort of lose my passion for comics. And now that and nothing that I've ever talked about, nothing that I ever will talk about, but now that I'm in this position that I'm in right now, where I've formed a deeper connection with my artwork than I've probably ever had since I was a kid, probably since I was 17 or 18, I'm, doing some of the best work and the most interesting work, and every art book that I've been doing has been building to this point, and I didn't know it, and I didn't understand that was the case, but here we are. So what I'm working on right now is a part of the story that requires my characters to go through this kind of, world between worlds, this sort of ether space. And in that space, when they travel through it, it's inspired by this experience of going through a spinning ice tunnel at Universal Studios in California when I was a kid. And I wanted it to be sort of like when you travel through this space and you end up in other places, it's sort of like going through a haunted tunnel with all these surreal spirits and creatures and things. And I'm having to figure out what that is going to be. Now, when I look at comics and my own experience with comics, the people that inspired me, people like Todd McFarlane, and then later on when I saw Jack Kirby's work, and obviously people like Tim Vigil, and they would do these kind of demonic, almost like soups of forms and bodies and demons and monsters. You can kind of see it in some of Todd's early Spawn work, and then some of the stuff he did when Mysterio would make people hallucinate, but it was never on that on the scale that he did with Spawn. So I'm trying to create that tunnel, and I want it to be cool, and I want it to be something that I can use the basic forms of as the characters go through it. And so to get a sense of what that is and who's going through it, this is a look at the page that I'm working on right now. See if I can make that happen for you. There you go. And so that's the characters going through that world. And you can see all this stuff on my Instagram. I post little bits of it, and obviously I'm going to post more on my Patreon. So in this thing, I want to have there be, first there's got to be the forms, right? The forms that make the world and make everything interesting. So there's going to be a background element right here. We've got our characters kind of going into it here, more or less. There we go. And then this side right here is going to be an extreme foreground. So you've got background, middle ground, and this is going to be the extreme sort of foreground. And it's not the thing about this book and the thing about doing a Indiegogo campaign and doing a, you know, there, oh, that's perfect. Sorry, got a character, got a character with their arm reaching out like that, almost like a siren. And maybe that's the thing I'm looking forward to, and I'm looking for as I design this, is thinking about the sirens that lure you to the rocks, and how do you pass through that space without being overwhelmed or sucked into the permanent space between spaces. And now that space between spaces is something that's important to me in my personal life, and it's also important to me in my work. I see a lot of people, and myself included, in life get stuck in those spaces between spaces. It's a really easy thing to have happen if you're not paying attention to it. And for me, it's not that I'm doing some kind of auteur garbage that, you know, I used to think was what drawing comic books and making art was about. That's not what it's about. I'm trying to create something that, you know, I create, and when I create something, it just is. It's in the paper. And so as I make this space, I'm thinking about how you have to pass through those sort of transitional spaces and those spaces in between in order to get to your destiny, to get to where you're meant to be. And if you linger in those spaces, they can, there's something that you have to be wise enough to push yourself out of, because they can trap you and they can keep you from what you're supposed to be doing. And so what I'm doing right here is very much about breaking that visual for both myself. And again, I don't believe that our artwork is therapy or cathartic. I mean, it is only by accident that if you're someone who likes to go for a jog, you're someone who likes to run, you're someone who likes to, you know, do anything that you enjoy. Yeah, it's positive for you. It's cathartic, but it's not therapy. It's not a journal. It's just a place where you explore the things that matter to you, and you try to present them in the coolest way possible, and the things that you find really cool. And I guess that by happenstance, you're going to bring some of yourself into it, and that stuff is always going to be there. But of course you are. You're the person who's doing all the work. And so that has been the thing I've been struggling with for the last, 48 hours, is trying to figure out how to solve it. And the mistake I was kind of running into, which is a little bit of a classic, kind of mistake, is trying to solve it on a final. And when you have a question or when you have a problem with it, not solving it on the actual, solving it as a sketch first. And I guess actually a really good example visually of what I'm talking about, even though it's completely different, is I think about when I saw The Little Mermaid back in the late 80s, and it was the start of, in a lot of ways, the big Disney Renaissance. And there was that part where Ariel was going into that cave, and all of the people who had been stuck in that place in between places, who had made bargains with the devil, so to speak, and found themselves, turned into these shriveled up little people, just forever reaching, grasping, trying to both get out, but also the potential that they could grab you and drag you down to where they are. That's a huge thing in terms of life that I have been thinking a lot about lately, is people who get stuck in between spaces aren't able to get out, and how they have a tendency to want to drag other people into those in between spaces and trap them. And you have to break those chains, and you have to break those reaching hands that are always, going to be coming for you in those spaces. And it's not like it's impossible to it's not like, oh gosh, it's the hands that reach for us in those spaces that hold on to us the tightest, I think, are our own. And that's one of the things that, unrelated to the comic book, but that's just a little bit of where I am spiritually and philosophically right now, is getting away from that stuff and recognizing that miles to go before I sleep. And it is the, these woods are lovely, dark and deep quality to it. And when I think about the stuff that inspires me, like Hound of the Baskervilles, Sleepy Hollow, especially the original Disney one, and Disney's Halloween Treat, and comics, everything that I'm passionate about. I know what I need to do with this painting now. And so what I was just doing right here may look like a series of scribbles. It's going to be something that gets tied into this piece right here. Let's see if we can get the camera in the shot. There you go. Beautiful. It's going to get tied into this piece right here. And the thing I want everyone to understand is when they see that piece, when they see this finish right here, and what goes on in this spirally world as our characters get whisked through it, I want you to know that you were there when I sat down and I solved visually that problem I was having with this piece. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. I had no idea how it was going to come out, but it helped me to do this little video and to get out my sketchbook and make it happen. So like and subscribe. If you're not following this channel, you're not subscribed to this channel, do, because all my announcements about this book and all of the behind the scenes looks are going to be happening here. I also have a Patreon. I would absolutely love your support. I've also got an Instagram where you can see my artwork as well, watching what happens as I go through the process of solving these compositional problems. Like and subscribe. See you soon.
Once you think they're at me, there's all now why.